Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. JC here with another video on FGO. Today we're gonna do a couple runs on the Wangina event 90++, but before we start, don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe if you enjoy the content. So, unfortunately, it is quite hard to make an F2P run. I wasn't able to because I don't have enough levels on my F2P units. So, yeah, that's the thing. So, even so, there are a couple strats that people can do F2P, though they're not automatic, they're not super consistent, but they do work once you get the hang of it. So I'll talk about that on the second half of the video, but right now let's go with the auto farming setup. So for this, you're only going to need 2 Castorias, 1 Oberon, only going to need, yeah, and of course Ares or Castoria. We're gonna do both runs. Ares is particularly good for this node because she's able to inflict curse and she gets a damage increase on her MP on the cursed enemy, and the C also gives you a damage increase on the curse, so that's nice. That's very synergistic. Of course, we're gonna need the suit that provides order change so that we can plug in Oberon. And well, let's check the run. Honestly, it's pretty simple. For Ares, what we're gonna do is we're simply going to put all the arts up onto Ares on the first turn, and you do want to have the mana loading, so that's 70% charge because the C gives you 50, and we use one of Castoria's skills, and that should be more than enough to deal with the first enemy, depending on your level and grails. Honestly, if you have a low level, you can just rely on grails. That's, I mean, pretty good for the most part. Then, for the next one, we're gonna use everything that the Castorias have, and then we're gonna bring Oberon. It is really important that you do not use Castoria's MP. You already have it charged, but you don't want to just yet. So keep it down, and we just do this, and that should be for the mid boss. And after this, we're gonna use everything on Ares, so that she's able to deal with the enemy. So the curse is going to give you charge, and it's going to give you damage increase thanks to the special buffs or special multipliers. And then we also use this one that give us the third skill that give us damage increase against servants. And yeah, Hephaestion is a servant, so that counts. There's few traits that we can exploit against this enemy. So everything from Oberon, also the attack up and NP damage up from the suit, and then Castoria's MP, Ares MP, and whatever card. And that should be more than enough to deal with the enemy. So yeah, pretty simple for the most part. As I mentioned, rely on grails. This is Ares doesn't have to be MP5. Mine is MP5, and that's why I don't have grails on her. But she's a pretty reliable NP spammer, and probably a ton of people have this character because those who had the opportunity to roll for Ibuki rolled for Ibuki, so they probably have a couple copies of this character. Yeah, pretty simple. Now let's go to the next one. Now we do the run with Circer Castoria. She is going to be pretty much the same. You just need the charge, and she's going to obliterate everything because she has a huge amount of charge, and being a Circer is pretty easy to deal with most enemies. So again, we just use 3 arts up, and in this case I don't have extra charge, so I'm going to use the skills of one of the Castorias. Then I use Sertoria's MP. Even though we have 2 Sertorias, this is going to be the caster Sertoria's MP. Yeah. And that should be more than enough to deal with the first enemy, at least with the CE. Then, as you can see, we don't have that much charge, but fortunately Castoria has her own battery. So again, 1, and in this case I'm gonna be using this one, and that's 50. Good enough, and that should be more than enough to deal with the second enemy. Again, a pretty busted character. You don't really need to get any other single target character after this one. Even though Lilith is supposed to be stronger, like Castoria is just way easier to use in my opinion. So yeah, and lastly we put Oberon, and we put all the charge that we can with our skills. And I use this one, and of course the damage increase from the suit, and also I use this and this. So another attack up just to have extra damage, just in case, depending on your situation. You can equip on your own Castoria, if you need it, a charge C, so that you are able to use the MP of your Castoria on the second wave. That's a possibility, sure. It depends on your needs and how strong your Circer Castoria is. So be sure to take advantage of that, because fortunately we don't need to 6-slot this particular event. So that's an advantage. Now, let's go to the unorthodox method. So, in case you're having trouble 3-turn farming with your NP loops, it is also possible to use your face cards, but that means you're gonna rely on RNG. Preferably you go with a buster setup. It is the easiest way. If you try quick or arts, it's gonna be a little bit more complex, so I recommend buster. And in this case I'm using Jan the Arc. She is MP2 level 100, so she's pretty strong, and we are gonna rely on our face cards. So that means that if you don't get a buster card right at the start, you may wanna, let's say, skip turns and just waste your attacks, just like this. This is not going to help me out, so I'm not gonna use my skills so that I can. I'm not going to charge Jan's MP so that we can see the loop as clean as possible, but I need those buster cards right at the start. So yeah. Anyways, that's not gonna do that much damage. Now I have a buster card. That's more than enough. So I'm gonna use Koyanskaya's buster up all of Jan's skills, and then I'm gonna use the star dump. And with that, I have Jan's cards guaranteed. Since I have a rainbow chain, I'm gonna use that one, and that should be more than enough to eliminate the first enemy. Yeah, pretty simple. So yeah, you rely on your crits. Since we have a 1-1-1 node, it is pretty easy to just go with this kind of strategy. And then I'm just gonna use the let's do this just for fun, but you should start with your MP, and yeah, it wasn't going to deal the finishing blow, but we start with the MP, and that's gonna eliminate the enemy. It deals even more damage, so yeah, even more damage. And lastly, we just charge with Koyanskaya and Oberon, and that should be it. I mean, I can also use the star dump, but it's not really necessary. And obviously, I'm going to use all the skills available right now to super buff Jan. And this should be more than enough for Jan's MP to eliminate the enemy. Also the suits buff. I just use this chain. And as I mentioned, we're not even gonna do face cards if I'm not mistaken, because the damage we deal is more than enough. Yeah, overkill, you see? Um, but you have to fish for the right RNG. That's the issue. So you have to manually farm if you want to do this particular strategy. And we can also do it with other characters like Super Orion. So in the case of Super Orion or someone who relies on crits of the face cards and no MP damage, you really want to start with your two Koyanskayas and have BB on the back. You're gonna start and you'll have to wait for the right turn where you have the right face card. If you have like 3 busters, that would be ideal, but at least 2 buster cards, that should be more than enough damage. So in this case, it is very good that I don't have any cards from Super Orion. I mean, it's not the ideal scenario, but it is good enough. So I'll just waste the face cards, and then I'll see what the RNG gives me. If I have 2 buster cards, that will be more than enough. This is also pretty good. Okay, I'll use the Brave Chain. I'll use the Brave Chain. It is not that bad. So, first I give the Buster Ups from Koyanskaya. Then I'll give everything from Super Orion. Then I charge. Then stars, so that I have the charge, the extra charge on Buster hits. And then we just activate BB. And that is going to deal a great amount of damage. So we can also use the MP, depending on how you do your chain. So basically, remember that you always want to put Buster before your other damaging face cards, because that's going to increase the damage of the crit of Super Orion. So yeah, damage and charge, like a big amount of charge. And then we do the same. We just increase the charge. We use this. Yeah, we use this one too. We still have more. What's the name? More stars with Koyanskaya, so there's no issue. And we increase our attack even further with the MP. So yeah, it's going to deal a good amount of damage, even with 1 buster card. So yeah, my Super Orion is NP2. I think it's NP2 and 120, because it's one of my favorite characters. So we just increase the stars, and we start always with the buster. And yeah, the buster did almost everything, so yeah, of course it's gonna work. There's different characters in the game that have great crit strategies, so you can rely on those and borrow. No, you cannot borrow. You need to have the BB. Unfortunately, you need to have the BB to use this strategy. It is way easier to do the Jan Alter one, but if you have the BB, this is another thing you can do. So, anyways, I know it's not exactly F2P friendly. I really wish I could have done an F2P friendly build, but I don't have the levels to do that. So, anyways, I hope you find this useful, and I'll be seeing you next time. Bye!